everyone. The other day I mentioned intermittent fasting in my week 1 keto diet update and felt that I should at least explain about it a little bit. With the keto diet being super popular right now, intermittent fasting has gotten popular by association, and people might not really understand what it's all about. So I want to just give you a quick overview. Intermittent fasting has been around forever, and I mean forever. Cavemen didn't wake up and immediately have food all the time. There were probably times when food was scarce and they had to forage and hunt before they could eat, so they were doing it. But more recently, a few books have come out, like Dr. Mosley's The Fast Diet, Dr. Jung's The Obesity Code, and Kate Harrison's The 5-2 Diet. These books were complete game changers for the intermittent fasting movement. After these books came out, the movement started gaining a lot of traction, and then with the emergence of the keto diet, it's kind of got into overload and gained superpowers. And for those of you who aren't 100% sure what intermittent fasting is time-restricted eating. That's it. That's all intermittent fasting is. How it works is that you only eat during a certain time frame and then you fast the rest of the time. Now that I've said it a bunch, I'm just going to call it IF. I'm lazy. And I know what you're thinking. If that's all it is, why is it so popular? Well, at least that's kind of what I hope you're thinking. Either way, I see people claiming that IF's the reason why they lost a ton of weight, while screaming from the rooftops that they didn't restrict calories. Now, I kind of get where they're coming from, because sometimes cutting out a meal is all you really need to restrict calories, assuming that you don't eat the calories back later with binging or eating extra to make up for the missed meal. And I think that's the trick that they're actually using. It's cutting out that meal and not replacing the calories later. But that's still a form of calorie restriction, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's not the entire reason why people love IF. It has a lot to do with the benefits of fasting. Now, fasting has been claimed to do pretty much everything, from weight loss to curing cancer and even making you superhuman. But most claims haven't been researched on humans yet. So, fasting can make super-powered cancer-free mice. We need those, right? Absolutely. All joking aside, fasting does have a ton of benefits that have been proven in humans, like better blood sugar control, which can possibly help reverse things like type 2 diabetes. It can reduce inflammation, which can help with chronic inflammatory diseases like heart disease and rheumatoid arthritis. It can reduce blood pressure, triglycerides, and cholesterol levels, which can reduce your risk for heart disease. Weight loss through calorie reduction. At the same time, it can boost alertness, focus, and attention by impacting your neurotransmitters. Increasing human growth hormone, which helps your muscle growth, metabolism, and weight loss. It increases autophagy, which is just a fancy way of saying it increases cell regeneration. It gets rid of the old cells and replaces them with new, healthier cells. And now that we've gone over what it is and what the benefits are, here are a few ways that you can do it. Method 1, commonly referred to as the lean gains or 16 and 8 method. With this method, you choose an 8-hour window where you want to eat, called the feeding window. And then you don't eat after your last meal for 16 hours. This is called the fasting window. This would be something like eating brunch at 10 a.m. and then finishing with dinner at 6. This is by far the most common method that people use. It's not super hard to do for most people because you spend about half of the fasting time sleeping. Method 2 is the 24 method. This is really similar to method 1, except your eating window is 4 hours instead of 8. And this works great for people who eat once a day or have trouble finding the time to eat during the day. At the same time, this can be hard for people who are pretty active during the day and need some calories to fuel activity, or for people who have multiple social meal engagements, such as work parties and dinner with the family. Fasting for 20 hours can also be really hard mentally. I'd kind of give this an intermediate method rating. Method 3 is the 5-2 method, sometimes called alternate day fasting. This method is one of the more advanced methods. It includes fasting for 24 hours twice a week. During your fasting windows, you can still consume calories, but only about 500 to 600 calories, with a focus on lean proteins and leafy vegetables. And you want to schedule your fasting days apart from each other so you're not going back to back. And although it may seem like you're fasting more, which could lead to more weight loss or getting more benefits from fasting, it's only about 10 hours more of fasting than if you were to do 16-8 every day. Now for my top tip. It's slowly work your way into fasting. Don't jump in all at once unless, of course, that's a sustainable style for you. Now I'm going to use myself as an example for this tip. As I mentioned in my Going Keto Week 1 update video, I was starting to push back my breakfast in the mornings last week because I just wasn't hungry. I was going about 14 hours before eating and wasn't feeling much hunger. This week I've been able to make it about 15 and a half hours without much hunger or food anxiety. The goal of this is not to cause yourself more stress by watching the clock until you can eat again, but to reduce stress by not having to worry about eating a specific meal, whether that's breakfast or dinner or lunch or whatever. For those of you who are worried about the general recommendation that have been ingrained in us that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, I'm sorry to tell you, but the entire reason that concept is even a thing is because cereal brands made it up to get people to eat their products. It's widely accepted because these cereal brands or food conglomerates are all supporters and involved in creating food policy. Now, before you think I'm some conspiracy nutcase, I'm going to leave it at that and just say that eating breakfast is neither good nor bad, it just is. The most important thing you need to pay attention to is how you feel about eating breakfast. Is it a hassle? Do you love it? Your call. These are also the types of questions that you want to ask yourself before you decide to try IF or anything new. Does it fit with your life? Because if it doesn't, it's going to make it really hard to stick to. And one last thing that I want to address is the concerns about women and fasting. Some women may have hormonal issues that arise from fasting, like irregular periods, infertility, and poor bone health. And rat studies have also found that with 3 to 6 months of alternate day fasting led to reduced ovary size. Now let me say this again before you freak out. This was in rats, not in humans. No similar studies have been done in humans, so this could just be conjecture at the moment. And I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to make sure that you can make an informed decision about your health. And before you go, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe.